Travis went good, so John Oliver's back to discuss critical race theory. And, of course, white supremacists are claiming that critical race theory is white supremacist, appealing to Marxism. But what is not understood is the danger that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints poses with their religious freedom movement, as I've been the one to expose it. And, of course, Mormons, being white supremacists, aren't happy with me for exposing the religious freedom movement to discriminate. That's what it's all about. And it's necessary that we have a government discussion for all of these problems in our nation as we're on the verge of collapse. So nobody's going to listen to me, nobody's going to care, nobody's going to believe, nobody's going to do anything to make the change necessary to save our lives, to save our country. But the Constitution of the United States, in the Article 6 of the Constitution, says, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land." Nobody seems to understand that that's not a democracy. That is a form of a republic, called a constitutional republic. Article 4 says specifically, we are not to be a democracy, we are to be a republican form of government. And Article 6 clarifies constitutional republic. It's real simple, not complicated. We have never adhered to it since. We have two main political parties, the Communist Party and the Fascist Party, both of which are a republican form of government. Communism is a socialist republic. Fascism is a representative republic. But if we're going to change definitions, if we're going to live in denial, if we're going to claim we're following the Constitution by not following the Constitution, living in an alternative reality, we get problems. But it goes on, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Judges are supposed to judge in accordance with the Constitution. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. The Constitution is the supreme law. No state can create a law that goes against the Constitution, and that includes the amendments. So, the Fifth Amendment. No person shall ... be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And Article 1 and Article 4 talks about due process, among others. And so Article 1 of the Constitution makes it very clear that Congress of the United States of America is to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department or office thereof. We have not followed that because there is an amendment that changes the age of an adult to 18. The 26th Amendment, July 1st, 1971. So if you've seen It's a Wonderful Life, and she says she's 18, she's jailbait. That was like 1947 when It's a Wonderful Life came out. Hilarious. But yeah, it used to be 21 in the Constitution, and until July 1st, 1971, with the 26th Amendment, it lowered the voting age to 18, which means the age of an adult is 18 now. So how many states have laws that deny an 18-year-old adult life, liberty, or property? So states are not following the Constitution. And you notice that the United States Constitution is the law of the land. So states cannot create their own laws contrary to the Constitution. They have to adhere to the Constitution. So the only thing that a legislature of a state is allowed to do are those specific and distinct from the United States as a whole. So they're not supposed to make their own constitution, they're not supposed to make their own laws to determine the age of an adult, they're not supposed to make laws that determine all the various things that Congress is supposed to do. For example, naturalization. That's for Congress of the United States to determine. Brigham Young, perfect example of how he violated that. The Perpetual Immigration Fund was to raise up money from Mormons through tithing to then have the poor from England come to America. But instead of being approved of by the United States, Brigham Young approved of them as long as they were paying back the money that was used to bring them here through tithing. And so that was a criminal operation for which the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, founded by Brigham Young in 1851, with the Perpetual Immigration Fund that was founded in 1849, was shut down. It ceased to exist. No more presidents of the church, because in order to have a president, you have to be incorporated and so forth. So President Woodruff, no. Illegal. And so, yeah, states cannot do their own thing. And so, with critical race, there are some problems that they're not addressing. Yeah. Because the problem is in white supremacists in the various states creating laws violating the Constitution. It took was it the 13th? Uh, 15th Amendment, 1870. Blacks were finally allowed to vote. But then you got the Jim Crow laws from the Confederate States. I mean, dear God, a direct violation of the Constitution because they disapproved and disagreed. And so life, liberty, and property was denied to human beings. In our court system, we have civil courts and criminal courts. That's not in the Constitution. What's going on there? Well, that came because of big business. They didn't like being shut down, and they threatened the government. Oh, you close us down, all those people lose their jobs. You have to allow us to continue to commit crime. Oh, by the way, we've bribed you, so you owe us. Yeah, problems with that. The system was set up to prevent criminal operation, all things being equal. That when people's rights to life, liberty, or property from other human beings, citizens of the United States, from those who own businesses, from those in government, they're supposed to be punished. Restitution is supposed to be made to the victims. And instead, we've altered the Constitution to deny rights to life, liberty, and property. And so, teaching of children, regulating business has collapsed in our society. And so the homeless, they've been denied property, they've been denied life, and they've been denied liberty. They are victims of a failed government. And instead, our government tells us that they're to blame and they need to pick themselves up by their own bootstraps, or even worse, psychologists have fooled all of you into thinking, well, they're all mentally ill, they need mental health treatment. Wow. Why don't you just kick them? Why don't you? Treating them as subhuman. And so, race, there is only one race, the human race. Racism means you're treating another human as a subhuman. The technical term is ethnic group or nationality. And unfortunately, we've redefined race, thanks to white supremacism, but also those who are victims of white supremacism to agree that there are different races. And this is exactly what white supremacists do to entrap people. They change the definition and fool people into believing the different definition. You know, like democracy. And so with religious freedom, it sounds good, but the First Amendment already gives it. Let's read it for you. Congress shall make no law. See, Congress again. Congress is the only one who makes laws. And yet, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints got an Arizona bill for the Arizona state legislature for religious freedom. With a non-discriminatory bill, that's not Arizona's area. That's the United States Congress's area. Shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And so they need to stay out of religion, because you don't want a theocracy, because that tends to create holy wars and religious conflicts, which church is true, and then punishments for those who are not the true church, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, is the Church of Satan allowed to sacrifice babies and take away the virginity of little girls? Commit human sacrifices? No. Why? Life, liberty, property. That's why. You can't have a law contrary to life, liberty, property. You're now violating the Constitution. So you cannot interpret this to say, well, religion is exempt from allowing life, liberty, and property. But that's exactly what the religious freedom movement is all about, as we have learned. Their fruits are coming out. We can now judge them by their fruits, although we could judge them by their words. But many people disguise their words, generally speaking, and using alternate definitions to mask and to hide their true intent. And so, with the Arizona law, the church comes out and says, oh yeah, we are for non-discriminatory laws, and we're proud to have had included a religious freedom movement clause. Well, okay, for what? To be exempt from non-discriminatory laws. And what are non-discriminatory laws? Laws in which people's rights to life, liberty, and property are supposed to be guaranteed. And it's unfortunate that our laws for discrimination involve segregated grouping, depending on the color, sex, gender, disability, etc. Because once you start down that path, you have to keep going to allow for every single potential discriminatory category. You know, cheerleaders who wear neck bracelets. You know, oboe players. Because white supremacists and bullies always create a discriminatory category. Four Eyes. Has the bullies on my channel create a whole bunch of new categories. And so you can't have a list of what's approved or what's disapproved as a discriminatory category, because the Constitution already has in it, as I read it to you, life, liberty, property. Everybody is human, everybody are citizens and are to be treated exactly the same, not separate but equal, all the same. And so you cannot keep a person from obtaining a house. They are human, they are a citizen, they're an adult. That's it. That's the qualification. See, we obviously see color differences, but we're not supposed to see ethnic differences. We're all human. And once you start regulating at state law level to allow for white supremacist communities or segregate out black communities and therefore punish black communities and give privileges to the white communities, you're already in the process of denying rights to life, liberty, and property. Where you have the LDS temples in the white communities increasing the property values, and you have the Walmarts in the black communities decreasing the property values, where the train tracks are in the black neighborhoods decreasing the property values. See the danger that states are causing? They're purposely destroying our government, destroying our nation, destroying our way of life. As businesses bribe their way in to a state, or, like Utah, they have to bribe businesses to come to Utah. They had to commit crimes to have the Olympics come here. And so the church, likewise, with the City Creek Mall. But here in Utah, it's a theocracy. Mormons are in government. When a business commits crimes against the people, we have to take them to civil court. And then there's that Tom Cruise, or it's not, Tom Cruise wasn't in that, was he? That was a different one. It was, what's her name? I can't remember her name. She was in Pelican Brief. We'll find it through that. Julia Roberts. So now we gotta type in Julia Roberts. Seriously? Erin Brockovich, there it is. That was about the corruption of civil courts. Because it's in the state court, first of all, but the businesses are allowed to violate people's rights to life, liberty, and property when they whistleblow. And so a person experiences further victimization of criminal attacks when it's all in the civil court. And to go up against a huge, massive corporation who are able to pay for, you know, a law firm, and are able to pay people to commit crimes, to silence and punish. You know, the guy who went up against the tobacco industry, he was a whistleblower. They purposely were seeking to harm us with the use of tobacco, not just those who smoked it, but secondhand smoke as well. So everybody was getting harmed by the tobacco industry. Well, they still exist, don't they? Yeah, they're still sold in stores, and they're still a health hazard, still causing addiction. But, you know, they got fined. So our lives, liberty, and property have been violated by the tobacco industry that continues to exist because of the creation of a civil court. And so, likewise, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is seeking to violate people's rights to life, liberty, and property when it deals only with the church. And it's not just the church owns businesses. And once the church can solidify their religious freedom, BYU can have all the Brad Coxes they want. All the stores at the City Creek Mall, well, it's a religious company. You have to adhere to our standards and values of discrimination, of racism, sexism, and bigotry. I worked for the church. I saw Mormons upset that they were stuck at the bottom because of women who were working, rather than staying home making babies. But again, the church is causing the need for both parents to have to work. And are you able to have a whole bunch of kids under those economic conditions? Nope. What about the singles wards? Yeah. How do you choose an eternal mate when economy is a factor in choosing? It's not just someone you love. You also have to consider whether they have a good enough job to support your lifestyle as Daddy provided for you. As you blame the guy who is the victim of our government and the church here in Utah, and business not being regulated by the government. And so the men get punished as victims. They are victimized as victims. Because the church then imposes onto Mormon minds that if you are not successful and prosperous, you're wicked. And that's not Book of Mormon scriptural, is it? I just have to say Zoramites, and all Mormons know what I mean. The Constitution was set up to protect all of us, and it clearly isn't working because nobody's following it. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is now exploiting that so that they can overthrow the Constitution and overthrow the government to reestablish the kingdom of Deseret.